This is Frederik from Exit Politics Denmark. We're here in Washington, D.C. in the beginning of May 2010. We're attending the X conference hosted by Paradigm Research Group and Stephen Bassett. And we have found a witness to some kind of craft. You've seen, I understand you have had a major sighting or a sighting?
A very close-up sighting.
Okay.
Not only of the craft, but of the occupant of that craft.
Okay.
And I think that was the navigator because he was obviously in the front window, so
okay.
Unless they were steering from someplace else.
So if we can back up a little bit, I understand you're a firefighter or a retired firefighter?
I'm a retired firefighter.
Okay.
I worked for the city of Baltimore for 34 years, 33 years, something like that.
Okay.
And I was a paramedic and a hazardous materials technician also. We cleaned up everything nuclear, biological, and chemical. So I had pretty in-depth training, not only in firefighting, but in that too.
I see. And when did this happen? When was?
This was 1970, when I was in my first year of college. I had a 4-year scholarship to the Maryland Institute of Art.
Okay.
And I was hanging out with some guys up by the elementary school on top of the hill overlooking the river in South Baltimore. And we were passing around one bottle of wine between 6 of us, having a little drink. And my friends all said, well, we're going down to the store and get some more beer. And I said, I can't hang with you tonight. I got 5 or 6 hours of homework to do for college. I'm on a scholarship. I got to perform something or they're going to throw me out. So I said, I'll see you guys later. So I left. And this is probably the only time in my life I ever carried an umbrella.
Okay.
Because I knew it was going to rain.
Yeah.
So when I started around the school, down through the woods, going down the hill, it started to rain. And as it started to rain, I'm looking out in the distance, right at eye level, coming straight towards me, is a red flashing light.
It was out in the distance?
Out in the distance.
Yeah.
And 2 green non-blinking lights coming straight at me. And it's making a weird noise, kind of like it's having engine trouble. And I'm thinking, well, God, this guy's having engine trouble. He's probably going to crash right here on the side of the hill. I've never seen a plane.
You thought it was an airplane to start with?
I thought it was an airplane. I said, I never believed in UFOs and things like that. And I thought, well, he's going to crash right here on the side of the hill where I'm at. So as it got closer, I couldn't see any wings on it. So I said, oh, that's what it is. That's why it's making such a weird noise. It's a helicopter. That's it. It's got to be a helicopter. So as it got even closer, it was getting slower and slower, and I'm thinking, well, it's going to stall and fall out of the air. And then it got close enough where I could see, because it was only about 80 feet up, that it didn't have a tail rotor on it. It had no top rotor, no propellers, no jet engines. This thing was completely circular, like a saucer. The only difference was it had a cupola or canopy up on top. Now, when I first saw it, the front of it, or at least the part facing me, was solid metal, shiny metal. And it was just starting to rain big drops. As the thing pulled directly over my head like this, I was looking straight up. I pulled the umbrella back and I'm looking straight up at the bottom. The bottom was so highly reflective that it reflected all the trees on the ground around me on the parabolic bottom, because it was almost like a parabolic mirror. And I was thinking, well, why can't I see myself? And I was also really scared at that time, because then I realized that this wasn't something normal. So as the thing passed by me, it only went like another 100 feet or so past the woods out into the field, right near the elementary school I went to when I was a kid, and it stopped dead in the air and hovered. And as it hovered, it made this type of motion, kind of like a gyroscope that was running out of speed, and starting to get ready to collapse. And it was still making a weird noise that undulated. It went up and down, and every once in a while there was a small popping noise, kind of like a champagne cork or a backfire, something like that, but only about once every minute. And this thing, I don't think it was rotating, because the green lights that were on both sides didn't spin around. And I didn't get the notion when I looked at it that it was spinning. But it did turn gradually, slowly, like this. And as it rotated around, then I could see this window with this figure in it.
I don't know, can we see it? Yeah.
There's a very strong light coming from behind whatever this is. So now I'm terrified. I'm really scared. I'm saying, there's no such thing, there's no such thing. So I took the umbrella and I put the umbrella between me and it. And I'm saying to myself, man, it's science fiction. It's no such thing. You've got to be hallucinating. When you pull the umbrella back, it's going to be gone. So I pull the umbrella back.
It's still there.
Still there. So I push the umbrella back and I'm going, it's no such thing. It's no such thing. So I peek my eyes open and I look because I got a black umbrella. I could see the red strobing light on the bottom coming through the material on the umbrella. So I turned my face away and I just held the umbrella between me and it and I looked straight down at the ground. But now it's raining big drops and the leaves on the ground are getting wet. It was in the fall. I could see the red strobing light flashing off the leaves on the ground. So now I got like a confirmation. It's coming through the material on the umbrella and I can see the light flashing off the ground. It's got to be real. And the weirdest thing was I was thinking about running and they did something to me.
Huh.
They paralyzed me from the waist, I guess from the waist down, because I couldn't move my hips, I couldn't move my knees, my feet, nothing.
So what happened then?
I just had to look at it, had to pull the umbrella back and look. So I'm
You
looking
were
at
basically just
it.
standing there.
I'm looking at it, it's looking at me, and I thought to myself, my God, it can't be nothing that's human or like that. This has got to be a hallucination. And the minute I said that, it turned its head sideways like this to give me a sideways profile. And when I saw that, I was like, oh God, they're going to get me. They're going to get me and they're going to take me away and nobody's ever going to see me again and nobody's ever going to know where I'm at. I was just so terrified, you know. I thought I was going to lose it. But it eventually took off.
But did you see a being? You saw that being, yeah.
But no, you couldn't see no definition on the
Okay,
face because
just
the
if it
very
was-
strong light that was in the craft was coming from behind
Okay.
whatever it was.
So it's just a
So
figure.
You could see the figure, but it looked like it had an elongated head, long skinny arms, and a skinny torso.
Okay, but a single being, not several.
No, I didn't see several. I only saw that single
Okay.
being.
How big do you think the craft was? I mean,
About 30, 35 feet
35 in diameter.
Yeah, because it
okay.
flew. I could see it when it flew directly over my head. I could look straight up at it
Okay.
from the bottom, and I knew it was only probably the distance of 2 telephone poles.
Okay,
high.
so it was very, very close to you.
When it was directly overhead, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is no kind of misidentification here. That was definitely something out of the ordinary.
Right. Right. Well, you know, as an artist,
Yeah.
you don't misidentify.
Oh,
things.
no.
Your job is to
Yeah.
look at things
Yeah.
and recreate them.
Yeah, absolutely. But how did the episode end? What happened? How did it just vanish and fly away, or?
I had the distinct feeling that they wanted me to come out of the woods.
Okay.
But outside having paralyzed legs and not being able to move, I don't know how I was going to do
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, there ain't no way I'm not coming out of the woods. I'm not coming out. You're going to have to land your craft and come in and get me if you want me.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of thing I was thinking to myself.
Mm.
And right after I thought that was when all the sound on the craft stopped. Stopped making the weird humming noise, stopped making the little popping noise that it made every once in a while. And the thing took off so quick, if you would have blinked your eyes, you would have missed it. And it not only took off fast, it made a right angle turn while it was doing it. And when it streaked across the sky, there was like kind of like a smear of blue across the sky, or a smeared image behind the craft, because it was moving so fast when it made the right angle turn. And it flew right over the town of Baltimore. And as soon as it left, all the feeling in my legs come back.
Yeah.
I ran home, I was shaking. You ever see a dog when it shakes?
Oh yeah, oh, I've seen that. Yes.
That was me.
Yeah.
For almost 2 days. I went home and I told my mother, and of course my poor mom, she said, have you been taking drugs? I was like, no, Mom, no, this is real. But she believes me now.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't keep something up for 38 years researching something.
Yeah,
You know, if it's-
sure. But was it something that you kept to yourself for a long time, or did you come out in the open, come out, so to speak, out of the closet?
I told everybody.
Okay.
I told
yeah.
everybody all the time. And
Okay.
I think I probably had a little
You had to get
post-traumatic stress
Oh, yeah,
disorder from the
yeah.
incident, because whenever I would tell people, I would relive the whole situation. My arms and my hands would tremble like this, and I couldn't stop it. And I thought, why can't I tell people without, you know, the shaking going on in my body?
Yeah.
You know, and firemen, you know, being tough guys, we're not supposed to be afraid of
Yeah,
nothing.
exactly.
And one of my friends, I told
What about
this-
your work colleagues? What did you tell them as well? What was their
when
reaction?
years later, when I went into the fire department, I told all those guys too.
Okay.
And you go through relentless
Ridicule.
Ridicule, being made fun of. But I have a thick skin. You know, I told him, look, you can make fun of me all you want.
Yeah.
You know, I said, I know that don't mean that you don't love me.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of just diffuses all the meanness that they're trying to put out there by ridiculing. And they made fun of me in front of chiefs, lieutenants, captains, other firefighters who never met me before, the paramedics.
So you were the weird guy, or the one that was seeing green men, or how did they make fun of you? Was all kinds of
they would email me stuff on the computer, call me up and talking like aliens on the phone. I would go to my locker and there would be a little alien like on my lock, or a little plastic alien, you know, so just little stuff like that. So this went on for pretty much my whole career.
Yeah.
Until the day I retired. And the day I retired, one of the guys that ridiculed me the most.
He had a signing himself, or what?
We were sitting at a table just like me and you in the kitchen drinking coffee, 6:30 in the morning, and he comes and sits down alongside him, and he looked around and there was nobody in the kitchen but me and him. And he said, you know, I had my own UFO sighting years ago. And I said, Steve, you've been torturing me in front of people for 25 years.
Yeah.
I said, why haven't you ever told me your story? You know I'm an investigator, and I would love to know your story. Yeah. So he told me a story. It was nothing real significant. You know, it was only a simple sighting where he saw the vehicle going across the sky.
But he was afraid of ridicule as well, or?
I said to him, why haven't you ever told me?
Yeah.
He said, I don't want people making fun of me.
Yeah.
I found out from some of the younger firemen that were coming through fire school, one of the officers that was teaching him at the fire academy must have read him some of the stuff out of the fire officer's guide about UFOs, probably just to wake them up because they were falling asleep. You know. So I said, well, what was the name of this book? And they told me the name of the book, and I wrote it down. So what they told me was the book was part of the National Fire Library in Emmitsburg, Maryland, which is part of FEMA, I believe.
Okay.
So I thought,
Can you just explain what FEMA is? FEMA is for the audience.
FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. You know, that's supposed to handle disasters in the United States, like Katrina.
Yeah.
You know, the big hurricane.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll get the phone book out and look them up because I don't have a computer, you know. So I looked up FEMA, you know, the government agency, made a phone call, said, hi, my name's Joe Wisniewski. I'm a firefighter for the city of Baltimore, and I'd like this book called The Fire Officer's Guide to Disaster Control. And they said, we don't know what you're talking about. Let us switch you to somebody else. So I got switched around between 4 or 5 people. And then finally the guy says to me, he says, look, we don't know what you're talking about and we can't find this book, but we know a lady who might know what you're talking about, but she's not in the office right now. We'll have her call you back. And I said, well, let me give you my phone number. They said, that won't be necessary, Mr. Wisniewski. We know who you are and where you live. It made me laugh. And I thought, well, I'll never hear from him again. So I hung up. Half hour later, lady calls me up. And she says, I've been trying to find this book for you in the fire library, and I can't find it. She said, but I found it on Barnes & Noble, and you can order it through them for $50. You know, most people ain't going to pay $50 for a book. I'm going to run right down to Barnes & Noble or order the book. In a week, I had it. You know, so it tells about all the different disasters that you go through and the scenarios and different things that you might have to do to mitigate the situation. They have hurricanes, volcanoes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tidal waves, nuclear holocaust, chemical incidents.
All kinds of
Chapter
things.
13, right in the middle, UFOs, what to do and don't do. You know.
And what did that say then?
Well, part of it said, if you see a UFO and it's hovering, don't stand directly underneath of it because you could be adversely affected by the electromagnetic radiation coming from the thing.
That's what you did.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And didn't have much of a choice, I don't think. They were driving. After that, it was talking about a scenario where a UFO would come down and crash into a public school where you would have injured school children, and then the UFO would go further and crash into the school's boiler and their furnace and catch on fire. So now you would have injured school children
And a fire.
and a fire that you would have to deal with. Plus you would have a crashed UFO craft.
Three things.
and possibly dead and/or injured aliens.
Yeah.
So after you take care of the human victims, then what do? Do you turn around and also treat the injured aliens?
Mm-hmm. And who
And
do you call?
what type of equipment would you need to do something
Yeah.
like that? Because if you were dealing with alien creatures, my question is, wouldn't that be a hazardous materials incident?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't know what type of materials or chemicals or even radiation that you might be dealing with. You would need level A suits or something like that to deal with that type of thing. And a hazmat crew in the fire department would have all that equipment.
Huh.
Level A and B suits. They would have non-sparking tools, Geiger counters,
Hmm.
you know, so.
But have you ever heard about any colleagues having an incident with a UFO crash, or had any hint about an episode of a crash saucer?
Not in my fire department.
Okay.
I've heard about it in other fire departments.
Okay, there are other firefighters out there who will talk about experiences with downed UFOs or UFOs.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah. A
have
lot
crashed.
of
Yeah.
them, a lot of them have gotten me on the side and told me
Okay.
their own stories, but only
Okay.
under the condition that I don't tell any of the other people.
Yeah, sure,
Right,
sure,
Because
sure.
they don't want to go through all the ridicule
Oh, yeah,
that I
I
went through.
understand.
But I had just gotten to the point where I don't
Yeah.
care what people think.
But my impression was that if there was a crash craft, it was mostly the military handling the situation. But firefighters have also, you have heard stories about firefighters handling a crash saucer as well.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
when there's an air crash, who shows up first?
Yeah,
If there's
exactly.
a fire
The
and an air crash,
Yeah.
fire department.
Somebody's got to discover
Fire
it
department,
first.
police department.
Yeah.
The military would come later.
Yeah. And is there a hushing up? Do the military come in and like tell the firefighters not to talk about it afterwards, or?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe so. Some of the stories I've heard from fire departments where they've had that type of thing, they were
Yeah.
told to shut up.
Yeah. Or else.
If you want to keep working here and you
Yeah.
want a pension, keep
Yeah.
your mouth closed.